I first met Kim when I was 6 and I found her alone in our backyard. My screen attracted my mom, who came running to see what the problem was, and she was also surprised when she saw a strange child in the backyard. She didn't understand what was happening until a few seconds later when a large sweaty man ran into our backyard. The strange child laughed as soon as she saw him, and he picked her up and held her in his arms. He apologized profusely, and then we realized that he was her father. It seemed like she had slipped away when no one was looking and had somehow found her way into our backyard. The man was a new neighbor who had just moved in a week ago and was still getting used to the neighborhood. That was how I met Kim, or at least that's how I remember it, although Kim swears it happened in a whole different way. Within a year, Amanda, Freya, and Clara had moved into the neighborhood too, and pretty soon we all became friends, bonded by our mutual likeness for causing mischief. We were inseparable in the years that followed, and we all had just turned 20. Out of all of us in the group, I was the most attractive and desirable because of my model-like features that included my thin waist, tall height, and slim, long legs. Kim was the richest and the most spoiled, as she always got whatever she wanted because her parents could afford it. There was a boy who lived around. He was not part of our group, but we all knew him, and he knew us too. His name was Fika, and he was a tall, athletic-looking guy. He was handsome too, and one day Kim confessed to us that she had a crush on him. We all teased her about it, and she made us promise not to tell anyone. I was on my way to Kim's house one day when I saw Fika coming in the opposite direction. It seemed like he was coming towards me. I smiled at him and waved, expecting him to walk past me when he stopped right in front of me.
Hey, Pen.
Hey, Fika.
Do you have a moment, please?
It depends. What do you want to talk about? I asked, hesitantly.
I want to talk about you.
Oh, really? What about me? He hesitated, and I saw him fidgeting with his hands in his pockets. It seemed like he was sweating too, which was a bit strange, as it was a very cold day and he was in a hoodie. He paused for a while, and I was beginning to grow impatient with him when he finally spoke up.
Pen, I just want to let you know that I like you and I'd like you to be my girlfriend.
He said as he avoided my gaze. What did you say? I was shocked out of my mind, but just before he could talk, I cut him off and rejected him on the spot. I told him that it was never going to happen, and I told him not to ever ask me out again. I walked off, still feeling freaked out. How could he like me? Didn't he know that Kim had a massive crush on him, and I could never date him because of that? I wasn't ready to ruin my friendship with Kim because of a guy I barely knew. Although I told Fika not to disturb me again, I found him almost everywhere I went. It was like he always knew my whereabouts, no matter how hard I tried to hide from him. At some point, I wondered if he was tracking me. How come he always found me so easily? He always brought me gifts whenever he saw me, gifts ranging from cards to chocolates, and one time, he even brought a huge teddy bear, but I instantly rejected all of it, and continued to avoid him whenever I could. One day, Kim, who was almost always the mastermind of most of our mischief adventures, suddenly came up with a random plan. She said that she had caught my neighbor, Mr. Longhair, cheating on his wife, and that he had offered to bribe her by offering to let her take his Jaguar out for a ride. The 5 of us were all together when she told us. Really? When did this happen? I asked, curious.
Oh, a couple of days ago. I was walking by this house when I saw a strange car parked in his driveway. I knew it didn't belong to his wife, so I decided to snoop a little. One of these days, your snooping is gonna get you in trouble. Maybe, but today, it got us a ride in a sweet Jaguar.
Kim said, smiling mischievously.
So we all get to ride in the car?
Freya asked.
Of course, we can all take turns driving it. It's gonna be legendary.
So when are we gonna get to drive the car?
He said that tomorrow would be okay. Anytime from 9 p.m.
So we decided that, since my house was closest to Mr. Longhair's and he knew me, I was going to be the one to collect the car keys from him and was to drive the car to a particular junction where the others would be waiting for me and we could begin our joyride. The following night came, and a few minutes past 9, I was in front of Mr. Longhair's. I had never been in a Jaguar before, and I was also going to be the first of us to drive it. I pressed the doorbell and had to wait for a few seconds before I heard movement, and Mr. Longhair opened the door.
Come in.
He invited me to come in, and as soon as I did, I felt 2 strong hands grab me into a hug, and before I knew it, I felt a kiss on my face. It took me a while to realize that it was Mr. Longhair that did it, and as soon as I regained my senses, I landed him 2 quick successive slaps after I succeeded in pushing him off. He threw the car keys at me and he ran off into a room in the house. What a weirdo! Click the subscribe button and drop a like in this video if you know you're not a weirdo. I grabbed the keys and walked out of his house, still annoyed. I got into his car and drove off to meet my friends at the agreed location, but no one was there, and after waiting for a long time, I picked up the phone to call Kim, but her phone was switched off. I tried Freya, and thankfully she picked up. But she informed me that Kim told her that the plan was called off because Mr. Longhair had already confessed to his wife. After the call, I began to feel uneasy. Something was wrong. As soon as I stepped out of the car, I was suddenly surrounded on all sides by policemen and was promptly arrested. They opened the boot of the car and found all sorts of stolen items in it, and I was charged for car theft and possession of stolen items. I was given 5 years in prison, and while serving my time, the only person that regularly came to visit was Fika. One day, he showed me a newspaper article about me, showing pictures of Mr. Longhair kissing me. They had written all sorts of unbelievable and untrue things about me, which made me cry. I told Fika everything that had happened, and he believed me. He also suggested that Kim must have been behind it all along, which I agreed with. The 5 years passed quickly, and on the day of my release, Fika was there to pick me up, but when we got to the parking lot, staring back at me were the same people who didn't come to visit me once while I was in prison. As soon as Kim saw Fika, she went into a rage, screaming at him and inadvertently confessing all she had done, while also yelling at me that I deserved everything that she did to me since I was dating Fika. I looked at my other friends and was surprised when they didn't seem shocked at the revelation. They had found out a while ago, but Kim threatened them to keep quiet about it. They said they felt guilty about it, so they couldn't visit me while I was in prison. I just stood there, shocked and unable to move. I was shocked that my friends, who I had grown up with and had known all of these years, would do something like this to me. A few minutes passed before I calmed down and quietly told them to leave. You should all leave. But, Clara started to speak, but I cut her off. I said leave, and I never want to see any one of you ever again. You all disgust me. If you could treat a friend like this, I pity each and every one of you because you're all friends to each other too.
You aren't my friend. You never were. Friends don't steal each other's man.
It was then that Fika spoke up.
I'm not your man, Kim. I never was, and I never will be.
As soon as Kim heard this, she let out another scream and they got into their car and drove off angrily. Unbeknownst to me, while we were out in the opening having this conversation, some security guards who were nearby had heard this exchange, and using their testimony, I was able to clear my name before Kim was able to bribe or threaten them, as well as implicate Kim and Mr. Longhair for what they had done. Mr. Longhair and Kim were then arrested and were required to pay a huge amount of money as bail. They were also handed jail sentences corresponding to the gravity and weight of their offense, and all through the trial and sentencing, Kim showed no remorse for her actions or any remorse for setting her friend up because of stupid jealousy. Amanda, Freya, and Clara were also arrested, but they were handed suspended sentences because they initially had no idea about what Kim had done. Throughout this traumatic ordeal, Fika and I grew closer, and I began to see him for who he was. He was kind, honest, and understanding. He had been the only one who had been with me throughout, even when my friends had abandoned me. It did not take long before we began to date, and after much talk and deliberation, we decided to travel to a foreign country and start afresh there. We wanted to start a new life. We finally settled in a country, and we had lived there for about 5 years when one day we were on one of its exotic beaches. I was under a beach umbrella, lying on my belly and enjoying a good book, and Fika, who was now my husband, had gone to get us some drinks when I felt a tap on my back and a voice following it.
Excuse me, miss. Can I talk to you?
The voice said. Yes, I replied, turning to face the person, and as soon as my eyes saw him, I screamed at the top of my voice. It was Mr. Longhair. What was he doing here? How did he find me? My scream alerted Fika, and in a flash, he was by my side. As soon as he saw Mr. Longhair, he moved towards him menacingly with his fists tightly clenched, but he soon stopped quickly. This was not Mr. Longhair as we first thought. but his first son, who was almost a spitting image of him, albeit younger. He apologized for startling me, and Fika unclenched his fists. He then explained to us that his dad was somewhere on the beach and had spotted us, but was hesitant to approach us as he didn't know how he'd react. So he sent his son to us instead. He wanted to apologize to me about what had happened all those years ago and for the part that he played in it. He also wanted to ask for forgiveness from me. I thought about it for a while before I told him to inform his father that I had accepted his apology and forgiven him. He left quickly. I really didn't need his apology, but I felt a little bit better that he did apologize. Don't forget to join us next time for more stories like this, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.
What's up? I'm Mandy from New York. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Growing up was very difficult for me. At the age of just 4, our family moved into a small village and I had to work on our family farm milking cows. One day I was milking the cows in the barn when the wind slammed the door shut, and one of the cows got startled. It kicked out its back hooves and smashed me on the mouth. I let out a loud scream and my parents came bursting into the barn. When they checked my mouth, they noticed both of my teeth were missing.
Mandy, let me check your mouth.
We need to get her to the hospital immediately.
Let me take a look. Looks like she will be fine. Her teeth will grow back over time.
But years went by and my teeth never came back. We realized that something was very, very wrong with me.
We've run some tests and your daughter has a rare condition that limits her production of teeth. I'm afraid she will never grow new teeth unless you can afford surgery. Although I must admit, it is very pricey.
My parents were poor, so there was no way we could afford it. I would have to suffer a terrible smile for the rest of my life. I would get teased about it all the time at school. I remember in 5th grade, I had just moved to a new school. When I entered the classroom, the teacher asked me to introduce myself. "Hi, I'm Mandy," I smiled. Then everyone, including the teacher, gasped in horror.
Ew, gross! What's wrong with your teeth? She's a monster!
I was so embarrassed and horrified. But then I felt someone step up beside me. It was a boy, a kid with brown hair and glasses.
Hey, don't be mean.
The boy turned to me and smiled. He was really cute. "I'm Ahmed. It's nice to meet you." I sat down at the back of the class and felt a little better. Later at lunch, I grabbed my lunch tray and started to walk towards an empty table when I collided with someone, spilling my food all over me.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry,
The boy looked at me. "Oh, hey, I remember you. I'm Ahmed." "Hi." I was really shy.
I like your shoes.
I was wearing my favorite white Nikes. "Thanks. I like your glasses."
Thanks. Do you want to have lunch with me today?
"Sure." We had lunch and it was awesome. Turns out we had a lot of the same interests. We agreed pineapple was the worst thing on pizza, Attack on Titan was the best show ever, and we both loved playing soccer. When the bell rang for lunch, Ahmed asked me to hang out again. I agreed. I was so glad I'd found a friend. Ever since that day, Ahmed and I have been best friends. And I'll be honest, I've always wanted to be more than just a friend to Ahmed, but I always get the feeling that Ahmed doesn't feel the same way about me. So I usually just suck it up and push through the pain that Ahmed doesn't have a crush on me. I'm usually good at keeping my feelings inside, but one time at a pool party, I just couldn't. Vixie, the mean girl at school, was hosting the party. I hated Vixie. She always commented about my teeth whenever I passed by her. One time, I opened my locker to find a note saying, "No one wants a girl with holes in her smile." And I'm certain Vixie was the one that wrote it, because when I read it, I could hear her laughing as she watched me. She always had a gang of followers around, some worthless sheep who just wanted to use her to gain popularity. I really didn't want to go to her pool party. I couldn't even swim. My parents never had enough money to pay for swimming lessons, but Ahmed convinced me to go. When we arrived, Vixie's parents greeted us at the door. They let Ahmed in, but blocked my way so I couldn't enter.
Who invited you?"
snapped Vixie's mom. "I'm with Ahmed."
"Oh God, what's wrong with your teeth?"
Ahmed appeared to save me. "Come on, Mandy." While he dragged me away, I'm pretty sure I heard Vixie's mom say I looked like a human rabbit. How rude! Ahmed went to get changed while I waited by the poolside. I spotted Vixie on a daybed. while an audience of sheep surrounded her. They all snickered, whispering,
I hope she doesn't think she could really have Ahmed.
Vixie was wearing this super tiny bikini, and I have to admit, she looked hot. Hey, Mandy. I turned to look at Ahmed, and my heart skipped a beat. He was shirtless, and his body was like an Olympic swimmer. While I stared, I felt someone brush by me. It was Vixie.
Hey, Ahmed.
She said silkily. My blood immediately started to boil.
You're looking extra cute today.
Oh, thanks, Vixie. Hey, Ahmed, let's go get some soda. I tried to put myself between Vixie and Ahmed. Vixie looked at me like she had just noticed me.
Oh, Mandy, I'm so sorry.
Huh? Why are you sorry?
I'm so sorry you were born with such hideous teeth.
Ouch. I really walked into that one. While Vixie laughed, I grabbed someone's drink and splashed it all over her. She screamed.
You brat!
She shoved me and I fell into the pool. Panic clouded my mind. I couldn't swim. I splashed and gasped for something, but all my hands met was empty water. I sank deeper and deeper. No one seemed to notice I was drowning. I started to lose energy, and I waited for the end, when suddenly, a strong arm wrapped itself around me and lifted me to the surface. Ahmed held me to him while I shook uncontrollably. There, Mandy. You're okay. Vixie watched Ahmed hold me and scoffed.
Ha! What a drama queen!
Vixie, you nearly killed her. Mandy can't swim.
What kind of person can't swim? What a loser.
Honestly, you're unbelievable. Ahmed lifted me up and carried me inside. He wrapped me in a warm towel and we got some privacy in one of the rooms in Vixie's house. When we sat down, I felt so emotional. I don't know whether it was the fact that I had nearly died or that Ahmed had saved me, or everything all at once. But the words slipped from my mouth before I could stop them. I have a crush on you, Ahmed. Ahmed froze. What? I have a crush on you. I'm so sorry if this ruins our friendship or makes things weird, but I had to tell you. Wow, this is a lot to think about. Ahmed grabbed my hands. Listen, Mandy,